Hey, it's Brett. Now, many people are confused and think that if we build an awesome OKR process, the organization will run like a dream. That's not the case. Running an organization is 20% technical and 80% social. No different than driving a car. The 20% technical is understanding the rules of the road. The 80% social is the behavior we have on the road. Leadership is the same. And so once you've built your OKR system, that's awesome, but you've just done the 20%. Now, that 20% technical is really important because it triggers the 80% social, but it doesn't run the business. What runs a business is the meetings that you have. And those meetings are super important to make sure that we talk about the right things at the right amount of time with the right people in the room. So let's talk about what this overall meeting framework looks like. Basically, there are three types of meetings: tactical, operational, and strategic. Those tactical meetings are the ones that go on every single day and week. In those meetings, you spend about 80% of your time reviewing performance and about 20% taking corrective action. Typically, in the daily huddle, what you're going to be doing is coordinating the daily activity to make sure we've got your best people doing the right tasks. You're going to be sharing information across the team to figure out who's going to be there and when and so forth. And you can identify issues immediately, and that's a really important part. Let's not let them fester. As soon as we hit that problem, let's table it and solve those that we can. Now, some we can't solve in the daily huddle. So we have a weekly meeting. So think of the daily huddle as being, say, 20 minutes or less. The weekly meeting might be an hour. And in that weekly meeting, with probably the same team, or at least a senior team, we're going to be beginning to link it back to the key results from the OKRs and check how we're doing. We're going to monitor the action items which were presented at the last weekly meeting to make sure they're done. What's that expression? After all is said and done, much more is said than done. Let's make sure we actually do that stuff. And then most importantly, what we should be doing is taking those issues that we couldn't resolve at the daily huddle and try to solve them. So we've got better horsepower, we've got more time to talk about it, more people around the table. We should be able to solve some of those issues. Now, not all of them. We may still end up identifying some big decisions that go beyond that weekly meeting. Those weekly decisions, or those bigger decisions, may get escalated to a special meeting, a cross-functional meeting with those people, or a monthly meeting that we're going to be needing to bring forward, or the regular monthly meeting. So these meetings go on every single week. Once a month, we're going to have that monthly meeting. Now, this operational meeting, I may be dealing with more senior people, and we're going to spend more time trying to problem solve. So we'll spend less time talking about performance, less time taking corrective action, more time understanding the longer term implications. We have way more data points to go by. Let's understand the trend that we're seeing. So those meetings are slightly differently. What we're going to be doing is taking those issues that we identified in the weekly meeting and trying to solve them with that better team. And we may do some refinement of OKRs. Now, within your governance system, you need to decide how much you can change at this point. But of course, that definition of insanity tells us that we need to do something in some cases. So this journey continues every single month. And then once a quarter, we have that strategic meeting. We're taking the existing strategy and strategy documents, the existing performance that we've seen, and we're going to discuss the strategic issues that have been identified. So in that meeting, what we call the quarterly refresh is about reviewing the performance and making sure the organization learns. We're going to be refreshing the overall strategy. So are those objectives correct? Are their weightings correct? We're going to define the quarterly OKRs. So for the next quarter, what we need to do. And then finally cascade it down to teams, departments, individuals as you see fit. And that process repeats itself month after month. And so that refinement informs us what we're going to do the next quarter, and the cycle continues. And this is really important because this allows us to both do a top-down strategy and bottom-up strategy validation and verification, and makes the organization far more agile. This organization's had 4 learning cycles in the period of time you used to have 1. And more importantly, if an issue happens in the middle of the period, we have a framework, a piece of machinery we can dump that problem into and make sure the organization's moving off in a new direction as quickly as possible. So the final point about meetings is this, that these meetings at the bottom, so the final thing about meetings is this meeting at the top, the strategic meeting, that's what we call working on the business. You stop your day job, you're not working in your process, but you're working on the business to make the processes better. So this is about setting strategy, reviewing performance, and the overall safekeeping of the organization's longer-term health. This is where we steer the organization. These two meetings are typically in the business. This is about managing the departments and teams, monitoring the projects and programs that you're working on, and clearing the roadblocks that just get in the way. This is the operational level, and it's grounded in the organization's reality. It's important to note that these require two different thinking modes, and therefore these meetings need to be run separately and sometimes with a separate group of people. So that culminates our overall meeting framework conversation. Hopefully this has been useful to you. If you want to learn more, we urge you to drop by our website or feel free to give us a call.